guys, so after I've showed you all of that, and all the drama that's gone on in the background, this video that Jack made with the footage that he made in my garage. How did he make this footage in my garage without my knowledge? He brought in a regular digital camera, you know, an older digital camera. I didn't think anything of it. It was on a tripod. He said he wanted to take pictures. It was sitting on a tripod, and he took some pictures with it on the tripod, and the whole time it was kind of pointed down on the table. The camera wasn't pointed in an obvious way. It was pointed down at the table and mostly at my crotch the whole time. Didn't really appreciate that a whole lot, you know. I didn't think that the video made me look very flattering, for one thing. That was one of my biggest pet peeves with it, is that it was pointed at my crotch. You know, he made cuts to make it look better than it actually was. Like, I don't do that. Just so you guys know, when I make edits, it's just for watchability. I would never make a cut to purposely make something look better than it is, or cut out something that happened. If I used that portion of the video, I wouldn't cut out something that made a difference, that was important to the video. Like, I wouldn't do things like that. I don't really have a need or a want to show the video footage, because since Jack has already made it apparent through an email that he doesn't want to be in the video, he doesn't want me to show his likeness or use his voice, even though later on he recanted and gave me permission to, plus the permission I have him on video saying, I just don't want the trouble. So I was just going to let the whole thing just go. I was just going to go, okay, I'm done with this. But Jack won't let me do that. He posted this video that uses my likeness and he made an advertisement video, is basically what it is. It's an advertisement for his product where he uses me without my knowledge or consent, and he's profiting by it because it's an advertisement, and he doesn't have my permission. So I'm dealing with that. You know, I filed a couple of complaints with YouTube. So his video gets taken down, and then he's immediately re-uploaded it. So now I have to go further, unfortunately. It's a unfortunate situation. I really wished it hadn't come to this. So all I've done, you know, from this whole thing with MightyKool and doing this review, is I purchased his cooler in good faith. I reviewed it in good faith. I gave my honest opinion of the cooler. I tested it. I did everything that and the review that I did, I personally don't think is bad in any way. But apparently he took some sort of offense to it. If it's not just a glowing absolute review, just wholeheartedly recommending and just showering him with accolades or whatever, he somehow took offense to it. The review is not a bad review in any way, shape, or form. But somehow he didn't like it, and that's what started this whole thing. In the United States, and I don't know how it is in other countries or whatever, but in the United States, I'm allowed to give my opinion. I'm allowed to buy something, and I'm allowed to give my opinion. And if you are the owner of said product or whatever, and you don't like my opinion, that's fine. I'm still allowed to give it. And I still should not be harassed and made to feel like I've done something wrong to somebody. I took a product and I reviewed it for you guys honestly, and I will not back down from that. I will not ever give a review that is not 100% my honest opinion. So with all of this that's happened, everything that's gone on, I would like to offer you a difference of opinion now. Like, in my original review, I said if you had a specific reason to have this cooler, then it might be worth you considering. After what I've been through with Jack, you know, what he's done, what I've showed you he's done, like I personally can't recommend it anymore. Like I don't recommend the MightyKool anymore. And now not because of the product, but because of what Jack has done since then. He has behaved very badly. And I won't recommend his product any longer. And I want to give you an alternative that somebody else emailed me. While all this was going on, somebody emailed me and goes, hey, what's the deal with this? And they sent me a link, and I clicked on it. And let me show you what I found, an alternative if you need a cooler like this. Let me give you an alternative, so hopefully you don't have to deal with anything like what I've been dealing with. Okay, guys, here we go. This is a information that was sent to me by a viewer because he had found this, I guess, while doing a search for the K2 according to his email. Now you'll see here. Does this look familiar to you? It should, because it's practically the the same exact thing. The only thing is with this one here is it's made in Australia. So you have to wait 3 extra days to get it. And I've already done the conversions here, so you know, this is in Australian money right here. So that is not what it actually costs. This cooler, pretty much exactly like the K2, pretty close, but with all of the things that I mentioned that I didn't like about the K2. For instance, the water level meter is on the side where you can see it. It's also got a float valve with an inlet so you can use an extra bag of water like this, and this is included with the price. The fan speed selector is fully variable, and then the front where you put water in it is just a flip-up thing. I mean, it's definitely pretty sweet. I like it. What this thing actually costs in American dollars is like 220 American dollars. Exactly what I've said the K2 should cost this whole time. I've said, what did I say about the K2 that I like? It costs too much money. It's definitely too much money for what it is. So this is $220, but since it's in Australia, you have to pay shipping. It's about $50 shipping. So with this one, you get the cooler, you get the power supply, you get the extra bag so you can have water feed. It's got more features. It's got low voltage shut off. This is really, you know, I don't know how you buy a K2 with this out here for that money. So this is transcool.com, or actually transcool.info, I guess. But anyway, you can do a Google search and find this, Transcool. And one of the things that Jack likes to bring up over and over again is the proprietary pad. The proprietary pad. But let me show you something. Like, here's a couple of pictures that I found. I wish this was larger. Let me zoom in. There we go. So there you have the inside of the cooler. Here's the cooling pad, and it's got less. It's actually a more simplified design than the K2 actually. So let me go ahead and show you another picture that I found. Here is the inside of the Transcool, and it's even more simplified than the K2. It's just there's no a bunch of plastic parts and stuff on the side over here. The pad basically is the exact width of the whole device, so you don't have to have all of these ducts and stuff. You don't have to have all of this stuff over here in this corner to direct water because you just fill it up in the front. So all of the complaints that I had about the K2 are fixed with this one, apparently. So it would seem. So, and then the proprietary pad that Jack speaks about all the time. My contention that it's not very proprietary. Let me show you something. Look at this. Does this look familiar to you? All this is right here is a dehumidifier pad. That's all this is. Does that look familiar? Does to me. Looks pretty familiar to me. So the magic sauce really isn't the magic sauce. All right, guys. So as you can see, you have some other options if you're looking for a product like this, and hopefully, you can avoid some of the things that I've had to go through. I'm not saying that everybody goes through these things. I guess if you buy a K2 and you're happy and you never contact Jack for anything at all, I'm sure everything is fine. But that hasn't been my experience. I think that I personally believe that his actions have constituted me recommending people go to a different source for their cooler needs. I do believe that is now justified. So with that being said, guys, hopefully I don't have to go into this any further. I hope that this is the end of the situation, but I have a feeling that it's not, that this is going to continue. It's probably going to get worse, and I'm expecting that it goes to legal action, because I will not allow anybody to use my likeness in an advertisement. That is just not going to happen unless I'm being paid for that, and it's my own knowledge and my own consent. I will not allow people to just willy-nilly come into my home as a guest, record video without my knowledge, and then use that video for an advertisement for their product. I will not allow that to happen. So I see that this going a little bit further. So I'll keep you guys posted as the drama unfolds. Hopefully it doesn't, but I'm sure that it will. And thank you again for watching. I know that this is a long video, but I felt it a pretty important video to make. I'll talk at you guys next time on that end. Okay, guys, I almost forgot. At the very tail end of this, I wanted to give you the test results just for reference purposes for the shootout. These tests are what my temperature sensors read at the exact same distances for both coolers. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. These, I believe, are the fairest test results, or the most accurate test results, based on the fact that the temperature probe was set at the exact same distance. There was no strange way of hooking it up the temperature probes. So this is what it was. There were 3 different tests run. One was when they first brought over the K2 with a brand new pad in it, and we tested the temperature against mine. This is the very first test right out of the gate. The first test up close for the K2 was 66 degrees. That was just a few inches off the front of the cooler. Mine was 81 degrees. And the distance temperature reading with the brand new pad was 83 degrees, which was 18 inches back, a foot and a half back from the cooler. And mine was 85 degrees. That was the initial out of the gate test. It was a very, very humid day that day. So it did affect the performance of mine, plus the problem that my cooler was having at the time as well. The second test, we talked about, okay, well, let's put in the pad that I had from my K2 that I tested, because I still had the pad. Let's put that in. So we put that in. Those test readings were 81 degrees for the K2 up close, 77 degrees for mine up close at that test, 85 degrees at a distance, 84 degrees for mine at a distance. Okay, so that was with the old pad that was in my cooler. Then it was discussed that the pad in that from my cooler was flipped the wrong direction from what it was originally in my cooler. Because when it deteriorates first on the side closest to the fans. We had that flipped the opposite way. So we flipped that the other way to where the degradation to the pad was closest to the fans. Now this reading was 72 degrees for the K2 close to the cooler, 84 degrees at a distance. Mine was again 77 close, 84 at a distance. So my cooler definitely had a mechanical malfunction throughout this entire test. Did the K2 win the test? I guess that depends on how you look at it. I mean, that's entirely up to you to decipher, really. I mean, in my personal opinion, I know that it didn't, but that's because I know that K2, I know what it's capable of cooling, and it's nowhere near as capable of cooling as the cooler that I made. So did it win the test? Did it win the shootout? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. But I will say, is there anything new that we learned from the K2 from what my original test showed? And I would say yes, there is something new that we learned. The thing that we learned from the original test was that the K2 does perform better than you would expect, maybe even better than a comparable evaporative cooler in high humidity situations. So if you live in a high humidity situation, Florida, the East Coast, things like that, the K2 may be what you're looking for. That may work real well. However, if you live in an area that is not a high humidity area and evaporative coolers traditionally work very well, yeah, then my original video still stands in every way. There's nothing that I want to alter from the original video. I will just throw in that little tidbit right there. So, would the K2 beat my cooler with it fully functional like it is right now? Even in a high humidity situation. Let me just answer that like this. I have a full-size cooler in my garage. The temperature readings off of that large cooler that day were very similar to the temperature readings I was getting off of my own evaporative cooler, the portable one. They were the same. So could you determine that the K2 would cool better than my full-size evaporative cooler that's in my garage? No, that would be crazy, right? That would be crazy under any circumstances. That's a little nuts, right? The large cooler just moves way more air, and I think that based on that same principle, the cooling capacity of my cooler is much higher because it moves a lot more air. It moves a lot more air. So, so that's how I feel about it. I'm not changing my stand on that. Could the K2 beat this cooler fully functional, even on a humid day? Maybe on a really humid day, it would the K2 would perform better. But on a normal day, like we see 280 days out of the year here in Arizona, no, absolutely not. It's ridiculous to think that. So I would love to do it again with the cooler fully functional, but you see what I've gone through. There's no way I would do that again. There's no way that I would allow somebody to come into my home again and disrespect me and do what they did again. I as a matter of fact, what happened will affect me allowing that to go down in the future for anybody. I'm not sure I'm ever going to let anybody over here in my house again after what happened. I mean, I feel, you know, I feel like I got slapped in the face. And maybe Jack feels the exact same way. That's why he felt he had to do something like that to somebody. So, that being said, that's kind of where I'm going to end it. These were the actual test results that I feel that are accurate in every way and not biased towards one or the other. I believe that these are very accurate test readings. I still say that any temperature reading directly off the cooling pad is still just for funsies. That's just a funsy reading, right? I mean, it doesn't mean anything in the real world. So that being said, guys, thanks again for watching. We'll talk to you later on that end.